So I wanted to make a Cam Reddish video here today because he's been absolutely amazing, and looking at his previous games, I mean, with good reason, he's been probably one of the Knicks' best players alongside, Julius Randle, alongside RJ Barrett, alongside Jalen Brunson. But Cam Reddish, he's been one of their most underrated players, and I wanted to talk about him because he's been one of my most, well, I've been high on him ever since the Atlanta days when Houston Rockets, wanted to trade for him back before, I think, when the Atlanta Hawks traded him. And when there was a lot of trade news going around about Cam Reddish, I remember I was doing a lot of research on Cam Reddish and what he was going, what his game was essentially. And I think his game is pretty interesting because he reminds me a lot of PG, and I know he gets that a lot, and with good reasoning. I mean, with watching his game, he moves basically kind of like PG in a sense, and in the way that he plays defense, the way that both their games are very similar, and that I think their both their shooting forms are actually pretty similar in the sense that they both kind of look like, and at the same time, I mean, their offensive ability are both kind of the same. But I think Cam Reddish, with his upside, I mean, we can see him possibly being on an all defensive second team somewhere in the future. And today we're just gonna go over Cam Reddish and what he's gonna mean for the New York Knicks in the near future. So what's up? My name is JDC. If you like what you see, drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel. I'd appreciate it. And let's just get right into it. So we have Cam Reddish right here, and I have some notes on Cam Reddish. So the New York Knicks, they acquired him last season via trade by the Hawks, and the trade included Kevin Knox and a first round pick to the Hawks for Cam Reddish, Solomon Hill, and a second round pick. So this season alone, like I said, 9 points per game, around 2 rebounds and around 1 assist, on 46% from the field, 33% from 3, and around 87% from the free throw line. Those shooting splits are actually pretty good. I mean, he is around 23 years old, so he's still fairly young on a team, with Tom Thibodeau, someone that's going to be favoring the vets. Cam Reddish, he's been proving himself to be one of the best role players on the team, and I think moving forward, he should be one of their best players on the team, especially if they bring him off the bench and moving forward when Quentin Grimes comes back. If they decide to keep Cam Reddish off the bench, I think he's going to be able to thrive with that bench role. So we'll look into more in depth about his game, but overall, his player build is actually pretty great. He is 6'8", 217 pounds. A solid two-way player at the small forward position who can also play some two, whenever the Knicks need him to play the two. Obviously, with Quentin Grimes out, he's going to be playing some two sometimes. I mean, RJ Barrett might play the two, and then Cam Reddish might play three. Brunson at the one, and then obviously Julius Randle at the four. And I think Mitchell Robinson is injured right now, so I think it's either Hartenstein or Jericho Sims playing. Both pretty underrated centers right there. But offensive ability for Cam Reddish is a nice addition to the Knicks. It adds more size to their lineup with Quentin Grimes gone, like I said. But with Cam Reddish being very lengthy and his player build being around, 6'8", 217 pounds, adding him into the starting small forward spot gives them more length and more defensive versatility on the defensive end, like I said, but also on offense, I mean, he's able to stretch the floor, 33% from 3, 46% from the field. He's also a guy that can be on ball and someone that can handle the offense at times when you need him to. So I think that, alongside his defensive presence, is definitely going to be a huge addition to this Knicks team. And we'll see in the playoffs if they do decide to run Cam Reddish. He might be a pretty valuable piece, going into crunch time where they might need a primary, on-ball defender like Cam Reddish, and I think he could be put into maybe like a 3-minute or 2-minute situation to guard up the best player on the opposing team, essentially, and he probably could do a pretty good job of that. So in terms of his three-point shooting, he can knock it down at a 33% clip. I always knew he had potential to become a really great two-way player. Last season when I was watching him on the Atlanta Hawks, I mean, I think he had like a 33-point game before getting traded to the Knicks, which was great to see. I mean, Cam Reddish, he's always had that potential. The thing about it is that he was always hindered by guys like DeAndre Hunter last season. I mean, Hunter was playing over him, and Cam Reddish wouldn't really get his spotlight that he deserved because with the Hawks, I mean, I think they had Trae Young, what was it, Kevin Huerter, they had DeAndre Hunter, John Collins, and then Clint Capella. There wasn't really any room for Cam Reddish, and even off the bench, I mean, they were playing other guys over him. I can't really remember that Hawks team, but I know they wouldn't play Cam Reddish a lot, and when they did, he either was inconsistent or he had some pretty good games like that 33-point game or whatever it was. So, yeah, Cam Reddish, he always had the potential to become a great two-way player, but he was always hindered by players like DeAndre Hunter playing before him. So, he could become a great complementary piece alongside Barrett, Julius Randle, and Jalen Brunson. I mean, that spot-up three-point shot for Cam Reddish could be something pretty amazing for the starting lineup for the Knicks. I mean, defensive ability, like I said, was already great. Versatility, you can guard basically 1 through 4, maybe 1 through 5 if you want to get, kind of risky with it. I think the spot up 3-point shooting could be pretty great for this Knicks starting lineup. Honestly, I mean, RJ Barrett, they're pretty similar, RJ Barrett and Cam Reddish, in the sense that they both can shoot the three ball pretty okay. But obviously, RJ is more of an offensive ability guy, and Cam Reddish is more of a mix between offensive ability and defensive ability. So that's pretty much the difference between them. But I think Cam Reddish slotting him into the 3 spot, having him be off ball and be kind of like a spot up shooter while also being a good defender, basically being a 3-and-D type of player, can also be a pretty great addition to this Knicks team. So as for defense, he gets a ton of praise for a good reason. He's a great on-ball defender that has a huge frame to him. It makes it harder for smaller guards or wings to get by him easily. I mean, he's a guy that's going to be guarding 2s and 3s. And, for example, I mean, looking at the Houston Rockets, for example, kind of like guys like KJ Martin, Jayshawn Tate, kind of like those guys, even like guys like Jalen Green. Now, I wouldn't say that Cam Reddish would lock up guys like that. I'm saying that, with guys like Jayshawn Tate and KJ Martin, man, it's going to be pretty difficult for those type of guys to get past him. And with good reason. I mean, like Jayshawn Tate, 6'4". I think KJ Martin's like 6'5", 6'6", and against a guy that's 6'8", 217 pounds, I mean, who's going to win that? So, honestly, Cam Reddish, his build at the 3 is definitely going to be very valuable for this team. But whenever Quentin Grimes comes back, I think they're probably going to go back to a Quentin Grimes starting lineup. But honestly, Cam Reddish off the bench would be pretty great too, and I'll get into that later, as I think if they keep Cam Reddish for the rest of the season, he could be kind of like a 6-man type of player for this team. So he plays very similarly to PG, like I said. Most of Cam Reddish's moves can be very reminiscent of PG's game. Mostly because, Cam Reddish, he's 23, very athletic compared to PG, way back when he was like in Indiana and OKC. He was playing very similarly to PG in the sense that they were both athletic. They both could shoot the 3, both great two-way players, and, both wings/guards that can basically handle the ball. So, honestly, what Cam Reddish means to the New York Knicks roster, I think will soon be figured out when Quentin Grimes comes back. Because when Quentin Grimes comes back, it honestly means that Cam Reddish is going to be coming off the bench again, and it means that we'll see what Cam Reddish is going to be capable of, basically, and see what he's going to be doing off the bench for this team. Because if he can carve out a role as the 6-man type of player for this team, I'm still seeing him getting around 20 to 25 minutes, even 30 minutes a night whenever Quentin Grimes is injured. And whenever Quentin Grimes is injured, they can slot in Cam Reddish at the 3. I think kind of run that as a Jalen Brunson, RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish, Julius Randle, and a Mitchell Robinson type of starting 5. So if Reddish continues to be effective for this team, 6-man wouldn't be too far of a stretch for him for this team. He can hold it down on defense for the second unit. Guys like Evan Fournier, guys like Derrick Rose off the bench. I mean, Jericho Sims, Emmanuel Quickly, basically. Honestly, if he doesn't continue to play effective like this, I mean, if he's going to struggle, they could capitalize on his trade value because he's been playing well as of late. I think if he does not play as well as he does whenever Quentin Grimes comes back, they can capitalize on his trade, maybe get a couple good picks, maybe 1 first-round pick and probably like a young player in exchange for him, or maybe a proven vet and maybe a first-round pick. I mean, Eric Gordon, like I said, could be a good trade target for this, New York Knicks team off the bench. Good 3-point shooting, good playmaking. I mean, just throwing it out there. But if they can get kind of like an Eric Gordon and maybe a first-round pick, which I don't even know if the Rockets would do, I mean, I would take it. You get a first-round pick in exchange for Cam Reddish, and you get a proven vet in Eric Gordon who can work under Tom Tibbs' system, basically. So, overall, I think Cam Reddish, the Knicks, they should keep him. He has potential to become I wouldn't say one of the best two-way players in the league, but probably one of the better two-way players in the league. Probably one level under Kawhi Leonard and PG. I mean, I think that's his ceiling, his potential, basically. The problem with that is, he's not going to get his chance being off the bench. I think he needs to go into a culture that's going to be starting him at the small forward or the shooting guard position, basically. I mean, I think Indiana could be an interesting fit, but they already have Ben Mather and they already have Chris Duarte. So if he comes to the Indiana Pacers, he might be off the bench too. I think he might be coming into more of like a rebuild situation. Maybe the OKC could be an interesting fit with him at the 3 alongside Shea Giddey, maybe even Chet Holmgren, and even at the 4, I don't even know who they would start at the 4. Maybe even Cam Reddish at the 4, and then maybe Lou Dort at the 3. That could be very interesting right there. Maybe the Lakers, they could probably use him too at the 3. Maybe Russell Westbrook, Pat Bev, Reddish, LeBron, and then AD. That would be a pretty interesting starting 5, but we'll see. As long as they keep Cam Reddish on the team, and as long as they capitalize on his trade whenever he isn't, well, whenever he does bad, and you want to switch to a Quentin Grimes offense, I mean, honestly, if they capitalize on that trade and get a good trade value back in exchange for Cam Reddish, I wouldn't be mad about it. So you guys can let me know what you guys think about Cam Reddish. Should he stay for the Knicks? Should he go? That's the video. My name is JDC, and peace.